Good afternoon, good evening, good morning for those who end up watching this tomorrow. My name is Conal the Cigar DM. I am having with me on today's show is Shadow, and at some point Jack. Let's see how often he gets thrown into timeout for making uncourteous comments towards his father, meth lab, children these days. And Mark, who is slightly new to our show. He's been with us since like the pilot episode, more or less. And he has been gracefully willing to join us here in the panel. And today we're going to be talking about Conan, the 1982 Arnold Schwarzenegger, really the movie that got him started. I mean, he was in like one or two movies before that, like Hercules and
Pumping
New York.
Iron. Pumping Iron got him his thing.
But this
Don't
is
watch it. Don't watch it. Don't.
This is the movie that really got him going. So we are going to play my favorite game, as what has everybody been doing this week. And then here in a few minutes, we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the camel punching, woman stealing, jewel kidnapping, Conan the Barbarian. Yeah, I'll stick with that. So, Mark, what have you been up to, Max? Jesus.
This week, just work more or less, and just normal household things, and then getting my homework done, getting the book read, and the movie watch for today's show, and then I've been hashing out and kind of. I haven't written anything on paper yet, but kind of working out an idea in my head, and maybe starting a channel and how I want to do that and what I want to do, and
Cool.
things like that, and then hopefully work on that a bit more this week, and then maybe I think my goal is to try to launch it in beginning of October sometime.
You know what you want to talk about on your show, or is it just more nerdy stuff like this?
It's gonna be. I think I'm going to pick 2 or 3 like shorter novels or novellas, and just like pick a certain topic each month, and maybe like a movie or a comic or something that pertains to the topic. And then I was gonna riff on Shadow and Son here a little bit, and hopefully incorporate my daughter, maybe to get her input on like a movie or a comic or something, and then maybe we might do something a little off topic too that she wants to do a little bit. And yeah, and then hopefully like at the end of the month or something, after I put out there what I'm going to do for the month, and maybe hopefully I can do some type of live stream or something and have people chime in on the things if they want to.
That's
Cool.
really cool, man. Hopefully
Whatever
I'll
it
come
takes
on
to
your
get-
show.
Whatever it takes to get the little ones involved, I'm all for. We don't have enough of that. We really, really don't.
Right.
How old is your daughter?
I think she's 15, so I think she's a year older than your son, I believe.
Okay, well then we
right.
definitely have to do some collabs then. Once you guys get into the swing of things, and see what we can do to get 2 different, basically 4 different perspectives on, the continuation of the hobby.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
he's doing
kind
it
of.
downstairs. Oh, you little stinker.
She's been kind of gaming adjacent. She's dipped her toes in a little bit here and there, and I thought I had my hooks in her because she's a huge Stranger Things fan, and now she's a theater kid too. But she's still not
Jack, what's her
into the
name?
gaming thing 100%. But
What's her name?
Grier, Grier.
Okay. Well, there are thousands of RPGs and even board games that are adjacent, and maybe the sword and sorcery in her bag, but there's other things. If she likes horror, that's the way to go. If she likes getting scared, if she likes science fiction or things like that, or even modern day Harry Potter fantasy, if you will, or whatever. You just got to find that niche that she's she fits into, and just work it.
My daughter's 11 years old, and one of her favorite books she'd like me to read to her was Alice in Wonderland. And I'm trying to get her into role playing, like the rest of us are with our children. I think Jack is the only one who's actually pulled that trigger amongst us adults.
Yep.
So my daughter's asked me to run a like Alice in Wonderland theme game. So I mean that's not too hard. I mean I got the Jabberwocky fig. I'm gonna pick up a few other figs that Whiz Kids or whoever brought out, and I'll just throw something together. It's RPGing, coming up with the storyline for that is already on somebody else's world. I think, especially if we're starting new kids off, you want to go where they know. Like as Shadow said, Harry Potter, Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, IPs that are already been part of our children's life already.
Connell, get a pen. Get a pen. I'm gonna hit you some info you gotta check out.
I don't have a pen, but I do have a phone.
Okay, well, be that way.
I will be that way. Technology, it's a thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm using some right now as we speak.
All right, what's up?
Okay, Reaper Miniatures. There's more, so you got to write down the Reaper part.
Okay.
Chronoscope. Chronoscope. CHRONO.
Wait. CHRONO. Right.
Scope. SCOPE. It's all one word. There are some Reaper Alice in Wonderland miniatures. Not a lot.
All right. Yeah, I'll look into them. I will definitely.
I know there's Alice and the White Rabbit, etc. And depending on what you're looking for, in addition to that, I can hook you up with some eBay guys if you do eBay. I don't know if you do that or not.
Not particularly. I've been burnt on that a few times. I'm not saying everybody gets burnt. I'm just saying I've been burnt a few times. I'd rather just go to wherever and just buy it my damn self. No offense to those who do eBay.
Because remember what I was telling you about Reaper paint. There are some Reaper paint sets out there, which are a really good brand of paint. One of the best, in my opinion. I mean, not in the top 10 if you include all the weird independent paints that are just crazy good, but made by one guy in Greece on a mountaintop. And you got to get a special appointment to be able to buy his. And that's not even. I'm not even joking. That's a thing. Okay.
Oh wow! I thought you were being sarcastic. I didn't.
No. I mean, we're talking paint here, okay? And Jackie knows what I'm talking about. There is a guy who's basically like that. I'm not going to buy his paints. I don't need them. But you can go and get like a box, a case. I'll send you a link to that video. But you can buy a miniature. It's a box that's got like 10 or 12 bottles of paint in it and places to put miniatures so you can travel and paint. Okay? Yeah. And I can show you how to get it for about $25 to $35. And like I told you, if you spend the $40, you get free shipping. So you can end up with, about $60 or $70 worth of merchandise for $40 plus tax.
That's a really good deal.
It is. Especially if they have the Reaper miniatures you're looking for at the same sites. Yeah. With eBay, when you're buying, you really want to go with someone who's really established. And I should do a video on eBay because I've made a crap ton of incredible discoveries and additions to my collection through eBay. But I don't really want to give away all my secrets. So maybe I'll just, keep it between us and, the lamppost.
Right. Now moving on. I am happy to hear that you're making your own channel there, Mark. Hopefully we'll have us,
definitely.
Us old friends on it. Are you thinking more of a book club type feel?
Like I said, I want to maybe do 2 or 3. I think I'm going to go with like shorter form books, like older, pulpy, like 150, 200 pages type books.
You ever read Amber? You ever read Amber?
No, I haven't yet. So
okay.
I'll keep that.
All right.
I'll keep that in mind. And then maybe a movie or two, and then maybe whatever topic I choose for the month, maybe a comic or a graphic novel, and then maybe try to because even with the Conan book we read for today, I was thinking of maybe how I could stat out Conan, and then maybe from like one of the stories in the book, like do like a scene or an encounter and like stat it out and kind of play it out and roll 20, using either maybe I'd use BX mechanics or OSC and see how he using those things and how he would stat up and.
Well, check this out. There was a Conan game by TSR, but before that, there was a book called Deities and Demigods, not Deities, Demigods, and Heroes.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Soft cover. You got the old D&D book?
Oh, I got the hardcover. I got the old hardcover.
Okay, well,
Otis cover.
About 10 years before that, and good luck finding it at a decent price. Conan was in it. So were other people. I think Elric was in it, and it had Thor and Odin and Zeus, but it also had fictional characters without permission, as you can imagine, because of the time in the early 70s. Conan was in there, and you could probably even find a PDF of the book. I might have the book. I have almost every one of the books from that series, but that might be one I don't have, but I think I do. If I have it, I'll just make a photocopy of it, because it would be using white book or white box set rules, which are basic, which are only a little bit different than BX.
Right.
And the stats will probably still be the same, although I'm pretty sure, they'd give Conan an 18 double odd strength for, BX type of thing. Yeah,
because even if I do it, I'm kind of like in this first book we read, they're like, when he's starting out here, they're making it sound like he's like maybe about 16 years of age. So I'm trying to think.
Yeah, he kind of
what level, kind of what level he would be. I know he's the man and he's Conan and that, but he's still starting out. So I don't know, but I actually do have an old TSR module of a Conan module with Arnold on the cover, but
that's worth a pretty penny. Hang on to it and take good care of it.
All right.
Yeah, anything like that, TSR wise, did you watch my AD&D video last week?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you know that the old stuff goes up in value, the new stuff does not. And any chance, like if you go to a garage sale or a bookstore or a game store and you see those old books, if you don't want them, I'll pay you to buy them. Because I don't have bookstores out here where I live. There are no bookstores except Barnes and Noble, and obviously I'm not going to find what I'm looking for. And I'll put bounties out on these things because there are a crap ton of books I'm still looking for. And like I said, you won't regret it. Let's put it that way. And if you find these things you want to keep for yourself, awesome, because eventually someday, many decades from now, they'll be your daughters. And if you get her in this hobby, there'll be something even more special then. And if she doesn't appreciate it and wants to sell them, some of these books go for a lot of money. The rules cyclopedia, the BX all-in-one hardback book, an original copy, is like $200. You can go to drive-through and pick it up reprinted hardback for $30. But if you're a collector, I wish I would have got that book because I got everything else, but not that particular book. And I'd probably pay $75 for it, but that's about it. I'm never going to use it. It's just going to sit on my shelf, going up in value.
Now, so continuing on with this thought, hey, Jack, do anything interesting in school?
No, not. Wait, can you say that again?
Did you do anything interesting at school? ROTC? I'm probably killing that.
Did I tell you about the football game?
No. Did you go to a football game?
Yes, I did. And it is a story that nobody in my school has any idea what happened. I'll just say my friend read the police report.
So it sounds like a good football game.
No.
So I'll tell the story. So, and I'll go through absolutely everything that happened, because the week prior, or maybe 2 weeks prior, we cleaned the plane. But this week it was our first football game against some other a private school. I think it's a Catholic school.
Yeah, no names.
Yeah, no names. And I went to the game because I needed to. Hold on, because I signed up to help inflate this giant dog that all our players were going to run through. So I got there a bit late, but not just late for them to explain it, and I had one of my friends explain it for me because I got there a bit late, but I still waited like half an hour, maybe 40, 50 minutes before the game actually started. And it did. Everything went almost as planned, except for you had the color guard, and they were going through, but because one kid left the ropes very far out, one of the girls holding the Air Force flag tripped on it. Me, I think I was the only one who actually saw what happened. My friend standing next to me saw she tripped, or she fell, which we all knew, but it was very clear that she tripped on the rope, which was a big deal considering, well, obviously it's a big deal, but also the guy who was in charge of that rope left like immediately afterwards. So he got kicked out of the program a week later. But then after that, everything went fine. We got up to like 20 points by the time of the halftime show, and we were reinflating the dog for the halftime show, and we needed to get it back down and roll it up. And as we were rolling it up, these girls came over to our flight commander and started saying, like, you need to do this fast, quickly. You need to do this now. And they got into this, not big, but they got into this argument about how we can't do it faster or else we're going to have to redo it all over again. It's like, no, that doesn't matter. Just keep rolling it up faster. We'll help you with it. But then he kept telling them, no, we can't do it fast or else we're going to have to unroll it and then put it back in slowly, because if there gets any air is left in it, we're going to have to unroll it. But then one of them said, somebody has a gun. So as soon as that happened, everybody just sprung up instantly. And like, wait, what? Somebody has a gun? And it's like, yeah, we need to get to the cadet rooms. So we all started walking over there. And as I'm walking over there, we're not really running. Well, we start running later because some kids yell something, and then everybody behind me just starts running. And when somebody says somebody has a gun, and then you're walking to a safer area, and then everybody behind you starts running, typically when you know nothing about the situation, it's safe to assume that you should start running too. So we all got into the cadet rooms. We let like 10 other people in, and people were like, oh my God, I have no cell service. Does anybody have any cell service? I need it. My phone, I can't call anyone. Hey, does anyone need cell service? I got it. So just call your parents with my phone. And that went on for a couple minutes. But after a while, some guys came in. They said that it was safe to come out. After that, like 20 people just jumped the fence and ran. And then me and like 15, 20 other people stayed. So we stayed there for a bit. There were police helicopters flying over, the searchlights looking for someone. Nobody knew what was going on. This was around the time that the colonel got back, and I asked him what had happened because he was over at concessions, I believe, which he knew he was not there, but he was closer to where it happened instead of on the opposite side of the field. But he just said that as far as he was aware, nothing actually happened, and it was just mass panic, which was good. That was good to hear, but at the same time, there were people saying that they heard gunshots, but other people saying that nothing was heard. This was around the time that I saw a message from one of my friends who heard about it. He doesn't live here anymore, but he heard about it, but he didn't get back to me until later. So we stayed there for a bit. This one woman was helping kids and like helping them get to safety, helping them get to their parents.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and this was at the time where I was starting to realize probably nothing happened, but it was impossible to be 100% sure. I remember hearing something that one of the cadets got nachos thrown at them by some woman, and I thought that might have been something that led to it. But after like 30 minutes of waiting, my mom got fed up of sitting in the car or whatever it was she was doing, so we had to leave. Then I called my friend, or he called me, but whichever one it was, he said that he heard that somebody was stabbed. So at this moment, I think maybe someone was stabbed, maybe nothing happened at all, maybe somebody just flashed a gun, like, oh, I see, you want to keep saying that? I got this gun right here. And that's how it started. But by this point, nobody knew. Then Monday, which was really the only day people actually talked about it, was one of my friends, he said that he read the police report, and in the police report, it said that there was a fight, somebody was stabbed, and there was no guns present whatsoever, but one guy did get stabbed, and that the other school won the game. But then I've also heard that nobody was harmed at all, that there was a fake gun involved, and very clearly, we won the game. So I have no idea what any of that.
I think at the bare minimum, you guys would know who won the damn game.
Yeah.
One
But-
would hope.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was
I
20
mean,
to
you
7.
guys do math at school, right?
Yeah, we were up by quite a lot, but unless they kept going while there was police helicopters flying around, which I highly doubt they would do. You don't continue the football game when you suspect that somebody has a gun.
No,
You know,
no, you don't.
I remember the days when I get in a fight in high school, especially at a football game or whatever, and I didn't have to worry about the other guy pulling out a gun. It was just old-fashioned hands, throwing hands.
Yeah, the thing is, though, nobody knows what happened because after Monday, nobody cared. Or if they did care, nobody talked about it. Monday, some people were talking about it. A lot of people weren't. And that was the end of it.
Wow. So,
No, you guys know how I feel about guns. Everybody should have them. Then there wouldn't be these problems. There'd be other problems, but we wouldn't have these problems. I know
Yeah,
that
the
sounds
best part about it is
overrealistic,
that now
it's a little crazy, but in the old days, everybody carried knives and swords. I don't know what made them think that suddenly we got better.
I'm going to go with the idea that nothing actually happened because I trust the colonel more than I do the people that can't do basic math.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I'm not,
So let's get this ball rolling. I'm
Yeah.
sorry that you had a bad game. I'm glad that your team won. I'm taking it that they won.
I'm
You're
going to
safe, of course.
assume that now, the best part about it was that now that if anybody disagrees with me on gun control, I can just say, I was at the mass shooting. I was there. I was a victim of it. How dare you?
That's not how that works.
I know
That's
it
not how
isn't.
any of that works.
I'm
I
going to
know.
behave. I'm going to behave. All right. So Conan the Barbarian was created by one Robert E. Howard in a fantasy stories published in Weird Tales in 1932. So it's safe to say Conan is slightly older than your dad there, Jack. Maybe by a year. Anyways, he was first published in Strange Tales, Mysteries, and Terror in June 1932. So, like I said, Conan's been around for a while. Now, I think, I'm not 100% sure. I think a lot of the different comic book companies over the decades have owned the IP to Conan. At
I don't
one
think DC ever had it. I'm
No,
pretty
DC.
sure DC.
DC's
But Dark
never had
Horse-
it.
I'm pretty sure Dark Horse has had rights to do so, but never DC.
All right, so I'm sorry. In the back of my head, DC and Dark Horse is the same company. My bad. But Marvel's had Conan over the last couple decades. I think they just lost him,
You're correct.
which
Yep.
is fine. I
Just
honestly
read
think Conan belongs in Conan Comics, not Conan matches up with Wolverine, the Incredible
Oh,
Hulk.
that never happened. That never happened.
It did.
Well, maybe after the 90s.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not familiar with anything other than maybe Cull or Red Sonja.
They did Avengers, and he was an Avenger, and they called them Savage Avengers. But I heard it kind of flopped kind of hard. But
Yeah.
That sounds
I don't
like
mind mixing some IPs. Like I enjoyed the Alien versus Superman because Superman's an alien, or Batman versus the Predator. I thought those were interesting stories. Do I want them in mainstream comics? No, but little Elseworld comic stories. A good story is a good story. This has always been my opinion. But that being said, Conan has been part of American culture since 1932. There has been cartoon series. There has been novels. There have been cartoons, novels, comic books, lunchboxes, toy. Actually, I don't think there has been any toys.
Yeah,
I don't remember them.
Yeah, Mego made a Conan action figure back in the day, and there probably were other related toys at the time of the release of the movie, but I don't know. I was not in the toy buying market then.
If they would have released one, it would have been probably with Conan the Destroyer. But I don't remember seeing it. And they did have a cartoon show. Maybe toys went with. I don't know. I have to look that. I didn't look that up. But yeah, it's a good.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I've always heard this. I've heard the story multiple times that when Conan the Barbarian came out, some toy company, I think it was the one who did He-Man, Mattel, whatever. Was, we're going to make a toy off of this movie because we're going to sell it to everybody. Then the upper people in that company saw the movie, like, we can't sell this toy to kids. We can't do this. So that's how we got He-Man. They're like, well, we have all these beefy toys. What are we going to do with it? I don't know. So I don't know if the story is true, but I've heard that multiple times. But without now,
it sounds like it could very well be true.
Yeah, it's one of those. Who knows? I know there's been crossovers with Conan and
Mandela effect. Were you going to say that?
No, that could also be a thing. I know there's been crossovers with H.P. Lovecraft and Conan. I know that's been a thing.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's kind of.
And there was a movie that came out, precursor. There's been a couple Conan movies. No, there's been two with Arnold Schwarzenegger and one with Jason Momoa. I'm a Jason Momoa fan. Shadow's more of an Arnie fan.
No, he hates Arnold too.
No,
he really don't like either. He them both.
Don't like either one. I like Jason Momoa because he felt more not so.
Arnold.
Yeah, that might be it. Anyways, but we're going to
that is a factual statement, but that doesn't make it good.
But we're going to be talking about the 1980s to Conan. I was trying to listen to. I was not able to do my homework as well as I wanted to, because every variation of the book I found either had a bad reader or it was in a different language. And unlike the rest of you, I don't know. So no, that was a joke. I think it was like German or something. Anyways. And Jack, no, we don't need to hear about your feelings about Germany.
No, I was gonna say I don't have an. I was gonna say I don't have an excuse for not reading it. I was just too lazy.
Oh, that's all right. You get a pass, in my opinion, because the only job that you have right now is school, and that really should just be it. But that's just my opinion, for what it's worth.
There's no excuse. He spent 10 times the required time needed to go through that book on audio format, watching and listening to other YouTubers that weren't anybody we know, except maybe Max. Did you watch Max?
No, I watched more DM James than I did Max.
Okay, see, there you have it.
DM James was really the expert of Conan. I should have reached out to him. That might have been my bad for not having him on today.
What? You're looking at one. I've read all the books. Just because I don't want to play the Modifius 2D20 game unless Crafty's dungeon mastering it or whatever. Doesn't mean I don't know a crap ton about Conan. I just have.
I know. Just poking some fun at you, old man. Gotta make sure you know.
Paying attention. I'm awake.
Yeah.
I don't need to sleep.
Jeez. All right. So between the book and the movie, naturally the book is always going to be better. I joke around about the design of Conan. To me, Conan should look like this, but if you look at the book cover of He-Man, not He-Man, Conan, he looks like, I don't know. I don't know what the right term. I don't know what the PC term is. He wasn't a fully functioning, working human, I guess it would be the term I'd use if you looked at the picture, the illustration.
No, he was kind of
Missing link?
just not super freaking handsome.
Gotcha.
It's that simple. He wasn't.
He had rugged charisma about him. He was a man's man.
Right. So with Conan had multiple enemies over the years of illustration via comic books and books. The one that they decided to use in this movie, though, was actually was played by James Earl Jones.
Yep.
Was an interesting bad guy, in my opinion. He was actually one of Cole the Conqueror's villains. He was a sorcerer, a snake worshiper during Cole's era, but they decided to bring him in for this movie, which I'm not saying is not a bad call. I mean, he might have been, hundreds of years old and a role of
thousands. Would have been thousands, yeah.
Yeah. But, to each their own. I think I would have tried somebody else, but, what do I know? So let's play the game that we always start with. Who's your favorite character? Which character of the movie, let's start with the movie, did you enjoy the most? I'll start with Shadow.
Valeria.
She was easy to look at, I tell you that much. What about you, Mark?
I like Conan. I like Conan. I like Arnold's portrayal of Conan. I know Shadow doesn't care for it, but I don't know. I kind of think he looks the part, and part of it might be is I think I saw. Maybe it's part of it's because I think I saw the movie before I actually started doing any of the readings of Conan. So maybe that's the hang up I have. But I thought he did a pretty good job.
I asked my dad I asked him that if I had bought a DVD of this movie and then just took just a piece of paper and wrote Frank Jones and put it over where it says Conan, and then would it be a good movie? And he said that it would be better.
That's fine.
That simple act of renaming the movie. If they didn't add the name Conan, all of a sudden it becomes a good movie, which I don't see how that makes any sense.
I'm kind of torn. There's two characters in this movie I really like, and I'll get to that here in a second. What about you, Jack? Who are your two favorite characters?
I only get one. Well, fuck you.
One. Let's start with one. Sorry.
Was there a dog in this movie? Because if so,
the dog's chasing him.
Okay, that was one of my favorite characters.
Wow. All right, my favorite character is
if I'm gonna be completely serious, I'd probably choose the villain guy, but that's just because he's played by the
James Earl Jones.
Yeah, James Earl Jones.
He's a brilliant actor.
I almost said J. Jonah Jameson for some reason.
No, that's a Spider-Man. Although we could cover Spider-Man another day.
I have no idea where that came from.
Like I said, I'm torn between two, and it's either going to be James Earl Jones' character because I felt that it was more fleshed out. There was more story given to that character than there was to the hero and his comrades. But that's just how I felt about it. But I also like the wizard, Marco. I can't think of his character's name. Mako. Mako has always been one of my favorite actors. He's everything he's ever done. I've tried to watch at one point or the other.
He's definitely put in the work. Absolutely no doubt about that. I mean,
he was a voice actor in the Avatar, The Last Airbender, Uncle. I can't think of his name, but the guy was just a wonderful person and a wonderful actor. And he passed away a while ago, and I truly missed him, and his work. So I mean, I don't know if it's biasm because I like the actor so much, but it's either him or James Earl Jones. Now, with that being said, who was your least favorite character?
Everybody that wasn't the dogs and James Earl Jones.
Wow.
You know what? Time out. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's go with that. What about you, Mark?
Least favorite? I can't.
Or did you just like everybody for what they were?
I liked them for what they were. I mean, I really I know he didn't have a huge part, but the Max von Sydow as King Osric. I mean, I think his part was. I know he wasn't in it much, but he was just. He was just great. He gave the vibe of he was a barbarian conqueror king, like maybe like he could relate to Conan when he was a younger man, and I think he just nailed the part.
Any movie with him in it, gets a free star.
I think so.
It's one of those movies, you get to that caliber, it's a shame he didn't have more part to play in the movie, but
he was in the 1973 Exorcist.
Right.
He was in the 1980s Flash Gordon. He was in a James Bond movie. I mean, this guy has.
He was in Dune.
He was in Dune. Yeah, I see that. Dune. He was in
Judge Dredd.
Yeah, he was in. He was the best thing about Dredd.
Are you kidding? Dredd. No, Rob Schneider was.
Oh God, I can't stand that guy. Anyways,
really?
Yeah, something about him.
Like a hero.
I don't know why, but just something about him I just can't stand. I mean, he did do a few flops, to be honest. I mean, I see Star Wars, the Force Awakens on his list. I don't blame him. I blame the writers. But no, the guy, I mean, he's even in the Game of Thrones TV series as a very interesting character. For those who've actually read any of the Songs of Fire of Ice series, are better known as Game of Thrones on HBO, which read the books. Yes, they read like a history book, but they are worth reading, in my opinion. The character he represents is the Three-Eye Raven, which is a very interesting character. I should have got more screen time, in my opinion. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about Conan. Now, would you say Conan's... Oh, sorry. Shadow, I'm excited about this topic. I don't know why, but I'm actually kind of excited. That's why I'm jumping around, so I'm sorry. Shadow, who did you like the least?
Conan.
Conan?
Yeah, here, let me give you a perfect example why. Conan was not evil. Okay? But the line when he is being trained as a slave and they ask him what is best in life, to crush your enemies, have them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of their women. Okay. The first part, okay, crush your enemies. Okay, that's not evil. Okay?
That's just war.
To have them driven before you. Again, not necessarily evil, but to delight in the crying of the innocent, where you physically take pleasure in the suffering and audible weeping, that's music to your ears, you're evil. Okay? I'm not blaming anybody but whoever wrote that line and shoved it in there, thinking that Conan would literally feel that way. he may say that, as an intimidation factor, but they didn't put that out there like that. They put that out there. My interpretation of that, they had brainwashed Conan into thinking that Conan was the badass that he was because he was never able to be brainwashed. Not to that extent. Maybe he was just saying it, so he wouldn't get the whip again. But, considering how shortly thereafter he escaped, and found his freedom.
Well, he didn't escape. He got set free.
No, he escaped.
No, the guy set him free.
Then why were the dogs chasing him and the horsemen chasing him into the cave where he got the sword?
I don't know, but the guy who owned his barbarian ass says, "Go, you're free. Run, go now."
Yeah, he had Conan had like Stockholm syndrome. He was like going back. He didn't know what else to do, and it was. But yeah, he was running
against something Conan would never have. He would never, not know what to do once being freed as a slave, which never happened because in the books, if ever he got chained up, he broke his own damn way out.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I can
respect the whole story. The whole story was, wasn't even a good adaptation. They picked some accurate moments for the movie, but and what bummed me out the most was that L. Sprague de Camp was a technical advisor. You guys know who that is, right? He's on the cover of every Conan book next to Robert E. Howard. They must have just said, here's like a boatload of money. We're going to put your name on it. Now go away. Don't say anything. Just go away.
Because it surprised me. I mean, I'm nothing against the guy, and I'm saying he's a horrible person. Right. But there's a good chance that he just phoned it in. Here's a suitcase full of money. We don't really care what you have to think. We're just going to attach your name to it to give it more credibility. Right.
There were just so many glaring. I'm not going to go with it. It wasn't word for word Conan, but there were so many stupid things that happened in that movie. Okay, just dumb. I mean, I'm sure you can find logical reasons to chalk them up to why they were not as dumb as I'm, viewing them as, or how I'm interpreting them. But it's just. It was
not a good version. That Conan did not work for you. Is more or less what you're coming across.
Yeah, I like movies that a lot of people hate. So, I know not everybody's going to agree with me, and 99% of the people are going to just think it was fantastic, the best thing they've ever seen, and tactically and as a dungeon master. It would not fly for 1 second, other than the fact that somehow they've got a gun to my head, the players, and they can get away with this kind of crap. It just, yeah.
It's interesting that you bring up RPG and gaming, because that's really where I was wanting to go next. Because Mark, you brought this up. You wanted to do a variation of this to run a scene. I've made the argument in the past that I don't think Conan is just one class. I think he's a mixture of classes. His main class might be fighter. I don't think he's a barbarian. I really don't think he's a barbarian at all. I think that was just, they had no better, that was just the term that they used. But in a D&D setting or a Pathfinder setting, barbarian would not be his class, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it. But
because a barbarian wasn't historic and has never historically been interpreted as a class, it's more been interpreted as a group, a type of person.
Okay, well, here's the thing:
the German barbarian.
mentally, he was at heart a barbarian, all the way to the end. Even when he, is quite successful at things, he still hated civilization. That's where it comes from. It's not because he can't adapt and can't do this or can't do that, can't figure out how to read or write or any of that crap, because that was never the case. He could read and write multiple languages by the end of the first book, before he's 21. My guess chronologically, he might have been 24, but whatever. He was very young by the end of the first book, and just physically an absolute, powerhouse. But it was his absolute, hatred of civilization. He learned all kinds of skills, all kinds of things militarily. He could command troops, he could command armies, he could sneak in and out. He wasn't so much of a locksmith type of D&D thief. He probably couldn't pick a lock to save his life. He didn't need to. He just smashed the door down, or he'd pick up the chest and crush it, or whatever. He didn't need those skills, but climbing, moving silently, backstabbing, hear noises, etc. Sure, no problem. But not all of the traditional, find and remove traps, which the more I think about that one, the more ridiculous that concept gets in actual dungeon construction. The traps I've been seeing lately, just absolutely ridiculous. But that's a whole other video, I'm certain.
Yeah, you'll probably make that one day.
Not a fan of that Grimtooth book, then, Shadow?
Here's the thing. If that's okay, then I want more guns in the game.
Okay.
If that technology is okay, I want cuckoo clocks. I want 6-shooters. I want a whole lot of other stuff. But nope, that's too much. But the ancient civilizations, before the player characters get around, they got to deal with blowguard traps, poison gas blowers, flamethrowers, pit traps, all these, engineering marvels that, we'd be hard pressed to do now. But that's okay.
Hey,
what?
Who said you couldn't add guns?
Oh, nobody. You know my games. My
Well,
games all have.
most fantasy-based games, people do not want. They're okay with the blow dart trap or the Indiana Jones boulder chasing them down the hallway. But the moment you bring in gunpowder at all, everybody gets their panties into a twist.
But cannons exist. Cannons are just big guns, pretty much.
Cannons.
Yeah, if you're gonna have, I've said it before. If you're gonna have adventures on the high seas and you're gonna have pirates, you instantly have mandated that there must be gunpowder. If you think you're gonna do that Greek and Roman era catapult and ballista combat,
you can't do that on a ship.
You can, but
You
it's
can't.
hard.
It's incredibly impractical.
Yeah.
Why would you limit yourself in that way?
Why would you carry around boulders to fling out of a catapult, or cannonballs, or whatever, or flaming oil barrels? But you'd rather have that than cannons? Come on. Have you guys not seen a pirate movie? Pirate movies are freaking awesome.
Nobody doesn't allow cannons. Most people allow cannons to exist because people just forget that they're just old-timey artillery. That's all they are. Not that's all they are.
Yeah, what you get set for your father. Most people like their fantasy in the King Arthur era, not into the 16th century.
Well, then don't have the pirate stuff.
Well,
right.
I mean, I'm not saying Vikings were pirates, but Vikings were pirates.
No, and in the Conan stories, the piratical adventures that he goes on, there's never any real artillery or firing. It's always boarding action.
Here's the thing. If you're gonna have
that work.
You don't allow cannons. That's what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, and I would not do artillery on my ship if I'm doing a ship battle, although I would not have cannons or guns. I would be doing loud boarding action, but that's just me.
Yeah,
that's how it's done.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It just cannons on their ships, but then when you want a flintlock pistol, that's too high tech, even though they exist at the same time period. Just use boarding action.
All right. Back to Conan, I guess.
Yeah,
back to Conan. All right. So in my opinion, as I was saying, I think Conan was multiple classes. He was mainly a fighter with maybe a few levels of rogue in it. for the sneaking, and I agree with Shadow. There was no lock picking, trap disabling, and he was just he was able to evade and sneak around.
They had they had magical sneaking around. Okay, they were able to go into Thulsa Doom's place twice without alerting anybody until they wanted to.
So you're saying that magical war paint they wore was magical?
Maybe that's what it was, but it didn't really work. On me, I could see them. I don't know about you guys, but I could see them.
I assume it was meant to be camouflage.
When they were in the caves, I'll buy it. But once they got into all that marble,
well, they're not going to take it off.
You're right. When they got there, which is funny because apparently Thulsa Doom's palace, entire kingdom, castle, whatever you want to call it, was flammable. How the hell did that happen?
We'll get there later. Patience.
Yeah, okay.
But they don't, when they're in the cave and they're wearing that camouflage body paint stuff, that makes sense. But they're not going to take it off before entering the palace.
No. But they still, had not one of them failed a die roll ever on any of their thieving abilities the entire time.
It was a movie.
And they did it all twice.
It was a movie. All right, Mark, how would you build Conan if given? Would it be even Conan you would build? If you're building a character from that movie, which character? Let's start with that. If you're building a character from that movie, who would you build?
Who would I build? Probably for simplicity's sake, I would probably just go with the I can't remember his name, the thieving buddy. I mean, he was straight up thief.
The Hurricane?
Thief, yeah.
The archer?
Thief with
he was my second
proficiency
favorite
in archery.
Yeah, he was my second favorite character.
Yeah.
But nobody asked.
Conan, it's like figuring out where he's at in his career because Conan's been a pirate, he's a barbarian, he's been a general in armies, it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of hard trying to figure out how you would stat him out just depending on where he's
it really
at in his
depends
career
on
and what he's doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I said, I think his base class would definitely be fighter, but after that, it is where is he at in his life? All right, Shadow. If you had to pick one character to build from that movie, who would you build?
It'd probably be a toss-up between Valeria and Osric.
Osric.
The king.
They seem the most interesting. The king.
He would be an interesting. I don't know if there's so much lore on him, but he would be an interesting character to do something with, like books about him before he became king. Just more world building stories.
Yeah. He just he had he already made the big time. You know what I mean? And he had the wisdom. He understood that all that money was meaningless, compared to, a father's love for his child.
That's fair. All right. Jack, what about you? And you cannot pick the dog.
I wasn't going to pick the dogs.
He'd just add more dogs. He'd make new dogs.
Yeah, I just add more dogs. No. I'm not entirely sure, but I would probably go with I'm going to go with either I keep forgetting his name. No, just because of that, I'm not going to say him. Instead of him, I'm going to go with the wizard guy.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, not to belittle his character at all, but I think he would actually be a fairly simple character to make. I'd make him a warlock other than a wizard or a sorcerer. I think I'd make him a warlock. But yeah, he'd be a fun character to play now that I'm starting thinking about it.
Quick question concerning him. what the hell was he wearing?
Yes.
That is true.
I mean, it literally looked like something out of, I think it was either that Tom Petty video, You Got Lucky, where they're in the post-apocalyptic world, doing a music video, or I think it was maybe the Police and Sting or something like that, because it was literally made out of thousands and thousands of pieces of little string tied together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just weird as hell. Like some old bag lady made it for him out of her yarn collection.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
It was just really weird. Nobody else dressed like that. You know what I mean? Everybody else was in fur.
Hibernian macrame, I guess.
It was interesting. And because they didn't have to go that route, is my point. They could have given him furs, leather, something completely different that didn't take literally that many man hours to produce, unless it is a type of clothing or style that I'm just completely unfamiliar with.
I'm going to go with that one.
It could be. I mean, I know, like, down in Africa, there's a tribe down there. They're part of Kenya. They like to jump. They wear a lot of red. I can't think of the name of the tribe, but they have outfits that have, like, strings hanging off like that. Okay. So I have seen it before in other cultures. Not saying.
Now, I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that. I've never seen anything like that, except the two instances I gave as example.
Yeah.
And wondering, so I could understand, what that is, because, I might steal that idea, if I could find out what it is. If it's got a name, like Brigandine or something like that, then, I can use that to describe somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I technically would not have used that, the outfit for armor. But yeah, maybe snatching arrows with all the little loose strings, but that's about it. I really want to take, if I was sitting down at the table and somebody says, we're going to play, Pathfinder is really the system I know the best. And somebody's going to says, we're going to play a 20th level game, be ready for the long haul. I would probably do Conan. I would probably start with Conan and just work my way up. It would be probably no more than 3 classes to build them. Yeah, no more than 3 classes. And I think it'd be an interesting build, but it would have to be a slow burn campaign for it to do it justice.
There's actually a Barbarian series called Brack the Barbarian, and mind you, the author, this is way back a long time ago, and in the foreword he literally says that he wrote it because there aren't enough other types of characters just like that, because Conan was so awesome, and he was. The original Conan was freaking awesome, but having read just the first 2 books of Brack the Barbarian, and it's only 4, which is a shame. There's a lot about that character that I like more than Conan, but you'd have to read them, and I'm not going to go into it. But
you reviewed them, right?
I think I just reviewed the first one. But it was
one of those books.
Other than, it being, swords and sandals kind of story, and they were both written a very long time ago, I'm surprised there's not more. Instead, what happens is authors, who want to write that stuff, just write Conan. There have been so many other authors that have written, just new Conan stories. They'll find a gap in the history of Conan and go, okay, my story's here.
That world is so damn big. I mean, there's got to be other heroes out there. For example, Cole was like 1,000 years before Conan.
Several thousand. It was
Thousands of
before.
years before Conan.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, there's been one movie. I didn't think it was a bad movie. It wasn't great. I mean, it had Kevin Sorbo in it, the guy who played Hercules.
Yep.
And it's what it's been called. It was just a sword and sandal movie. There was nothing special about it, but it was an interesting story. I think if you're going to keep going to Hyperia for stories, you can build your own people. There's no reason you can't build a new character in that world to run a book
I'll be
series.
right back. I can still hear you guys.
A book series or whatever for it. And I think a lot of people would be in for it because they could build out the world so much more. I mean, Mark, you said earlier about running a campaign, finding a aspect in the book or in the movie to just run for you and your friends or you and your kids. Like, would you use this Conan in that group, or would you have your friends or whoever build new characters to run in that area?
I would probably use a setting and have them build out new characters, but I would have to figure out classes and things like that, and kind of low magic, high magic, probably most definitely low magic, and things like that.
Gotcha.
But I don't think I'd let them build out a Conan. You know, I mean, they could build a Conan pastiche, a Barbarian or whatever. But
yeah. I mean, no, they cannot play Conan. You need to pick a different name. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I completely get that. I have actually stolen the name Cole. If I was making a fighter barbarian character, I have used Cole a few times because very few people in my circle know where that name came from, so I can get away with it. So you guys got me. I really wish I could have finished the rest of the book because it really was a really good book, and I feel bad for not being able to finish it. Unlike Jack, at least I tried to get through it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I like James Earl. I like his character. I like him as an actor. But I don't know if he would have been the villain I would have used for that movie. And I know I said this before, but maybe I know I had to have some sorcery in it. I just don't know if I would have done like maybe another barbarian king, another, something.
There's so much stuff you can choose from. You're not limited at all.
Right. Would you guys stayed with the original villain, or would you have tried to, would you guys pick somebody else? I'll start with you, Mark.
I didn't mind it. I would have kept it. I thought it worked. It was, the barbarian standing up against, and what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. He knows what's right, and standing up versus the cult mentality and stuff like that. And it took him to stand up to him and show everybody, this guy, he's talking the talk, but he's not really what he is and what he says to be. So that's how I took it.
That's fair. What about you, Jack?
I would have kept it, but I don't really have any other. Well, here's the thing: they made a sequel, and I have no idea what the sequel was, and I'm probably
bad.
never gonna watch it.
I mean, it wasn't bad; it just wasn't great.
That's probably all I need to hear.
It's worth watching once.
It's a D&D. It's a D&D party adventure, most definitely. The sequel.
Oh yeah.
Campy. A lot more camp.
I think. I don't know. I have a thing against snakes naturally. So when he turned into that great big python, I'm like, nope, 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 nope. Nope. Hell no. And Shadow says he would also, well, okay, hold on. He would make his own world. Of course, Shadow would make his own world because that's what Charlotte Roy enjoys doing. Then he follows up with, I would also have all my players make unique characters. But you can't make your own world. That wasn't the question. It was using that world. And so the second part, I would make all my unique characters. I'll go along with that answer.
Yeah, I don't like when people just use other characters. I think that's kind of.
I don't mind when players use other players as templates.
That's fine, but
the personality, there has to be.
But then, they have to be a different character. They have to be a different character, a different name.
Yeah.
Yeah, like traditional European, Western character classes aren't archetypes probably aren't going to work in this world. So you have to kind of mishmash and figure out what works and what doesn't work and what classes would apply.
Yeah.
What does he say? Pagan learn. James said I would play a pagan
Pre-gen
to learn to play the game. Yeah, that's fair. If I was running, which I need to learn how to run. If I was using the Conan 2D20, I'd be handing out new players as pre-gens so they can get a handle on the game. I think there's nothing wrong with pre-gens. And why did it have to be a snake? Because I think even in the Phoenix of the Sword, which he first showed up in,
Yeah, I think that was the first. I mean, when Howard put out the stories, they weren't in chronological order.
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to.
But I think Phoenix and the Sword, for some reason, was the first one put out, if I remember correctly. The first story put out.
I know he was Cole.
Cole was always fighting snake people were like Cole's.
Yeah, nemesis. And that character, James Earl Jones' character, was from that time period. So at least they kept that accurate, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think the accuracy thing is something that needs to be talked about that much. And especially not by my dad, considering he likes the Siege of the Citadel movie. But it just, you can't say that if you just change the name of the movie and change the name of the main character, all of a sudden the movie would become better, because that's not how that works. You can't just change the name and say, "Oh, it's better now," because it's not. It's not just a remake. They're not adapting anything, so that makes it automatically better, because it doesn't. Like,
I'm reading.
If it was a Walking Dead remake, would it be better?
Yeah.
So that's just not how that works.
Gotcha. All right. Wow. What did you guys think of once they brought Conan back to life? It wasn't right when they brought Conan back because she was dead, but when his love interest was dead, and it was him, the archer, and the wizard, warlock. He's more warlock than anything. But anyways, we're taking on the three other barbarians, up the fighters on top of that hill. Is it just me, or did the other barbarian guys, basically Arnold Schwarzenegger's workout buddies, did they tower him? I mean,
we're gonna go, okay?
The one older guy with I think he had a heavy muscle. Okay.
First off, there were more like 15 warriors that they took out. But before that, if Conan was truly dead, why couldn't the wizard bring her back? I don't think he was dead. I think he was dying.
Probably.
No, he just got crucified. I
Right.
don't know.
Because I saw him breathe when he was laying down.
But that could
It
just
could
be
also just
acting.
been bad acting on Arnold's part.
No, I get that, but also because of the fact that had he been dead, those ghosty things would have come for his soul sooner. You know what I mean? They wouldn't have had time to write all that crap on his body. I think that was his version of it.
So more or
He
less,
was going to die.
yeah,
He was going to die. And imagine, that makes more sense. Otherwise, why would Conan not just go, bring her back? Right?
No,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair.
And I don't know if you guys caught my other message, Jack, because if they named it something else, it would have been a completely original movie, which would have done away with all of my criticisms because they did something on their own. If they would have changed just a little bit and called it Fred the Barbarian, it would have been a completely original creation. But instead, like when they made the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it turned out to be nothing like the book. Well, very little like the book. It was, they put the guy's name on it. Bram Stoker saying, "This is how he wrote it." Dracula walked around and read full-on plate mail. No, he didn't. Not in the book. So if you're going to do that and you're going to, piggyback your attempted success on somebody else's work, do it. Do their work. Don't make your own thing. Or make your own thing and stand by your work and go, yeah, this is my work. I'm fucking proud of it. Not, this is what Robert E. Howard wrote, but don't go check our work.
That's fair. I mean,
and what was the other thing? You missed it. I said, why did it have to be Snake from Indiana Jones?
Oh God, yeah.
I get it now.
Sorry.
Now,
okay, you suddenly look like the Penguin. Why?
Who? Oh,
Didn't he?
you're right.
all right. So back to what I was saying about the hill, the fight on the top of the hill, where it was the last battle. It was the last battle of that movie. Because after that, the movie was wrapping out. There's a couple scenes in that I really liked. I like how they placed all certain weapons in certain areas. So in case they got. Okay.
It's not coming from here. It can't be coming from here. Well, no, it could be coming from Jackie.
Shadow?
Oh no.
Okay, here's my big question with that last battle scene. Why did they not just run? They had the girl. They had a good head start. So much of a head start that had they left,
You could do the stereotypical arms.
instead they spent probably a day and a night booby trapping an area to fight an overwhelming force that should have cleaned their freaking clock. Also, how many horses were injured in that scene? That fight scene? Because I saw a horse tumble down a hill covered in spikes. Okay, if the horse walked away without a scratch, then their traps were pointless and useless, and the guys shouldn't have been able to survive that. Secondly, how did they make that trap that when they hit the head, thinking it was somebody, it did that full weird spinny thing and perfectly line up to skewer that one bad guy? That trap was pretty freaking complex. If they had the brains to make that trap, they would have figured they had enough of a head start that they could have freaking lost their pursuers, with just riding hard because they were less encumbered, less weighted down, and had the fear of an army chasing them to get the princess back to where she belonged. That whole scene just made no sense. And finally, what the hell was up with that ridiculously oversized clown hammer?
Oh,
Yeah, it was a little excessive. I was thinking that too. It looked like something like a Joker would be swinging in a Joker novel or something.
Because I'm telling you right now, using just a regular stick with like a metal-headed hammer about this big like which would have been accurate and actually used, would have been a better weapon. Yeah, he was at a severe disadvantage trying to use that. Sure, it's intimidating and scary, but unless you are literally working at the circus and pounding in mallet tent spikes, into the ground with something like that, it was just so over the top. I was just like, oh my God. And yes, they hired all of his gym buddies.
Probably.
I mean, to be fair, though, on his gym buddies comment, at least they look good for the roles that they played.
No argument there.
You're right. You're very right.
And by that token, other than the other plot armor, that being Valeria coming back as an angel to save him.
Valkyrie, not an angel, a Valkyrie.
If he needed that, you know what I mean? Couldn't that was some serious freaking magic.
Anything else have happened?
What was that?
Couldn't literally anything else have happened?
Yes, exactly. He just roll out of the way. But no, we had a little bit of money left in the budget. Let's just do some, some. Crom would never freaking do that. That's the whole point of Crom. If you failed, then you don't deserve anything. Crom would not have sent a Valkyrie down to help him out in his time of need. You know what I mean? He would have just maybe given him a couple of magically bestowed hit points or a blessed spell or something like that. Not like go down and save your former lover. At the most crucial moment in the story. Crom
Even though
didn't
he
do
could have
shit like
easily
that.
just rolled out of the way.
Literally.
Now that we know how Shadow feels about that scene, what do you feel about that, Mark? How do you feel about that last scene?
The whole scene and combat there. I mean, there are parts of it. I thought it kind of looked cool in some parts, but yeah, some parts were far fetched. And I mean, it's a fantasy movie. You have to have some suspension of disbelief. I know it's cheesy, but I kind of like the whole thing where she. I mean, that's just me. I know it's cheesy, but I liked it when she appeared as a ghost or whatever and blinded the guy. But,
it was, that like I said, one of the reasons why I liked her character, was her loyalty, etc. But she never existed in the books.
No.
Okay, and Conan's first and ultimate love, even after he got married, was always Belit.
Okay,
right. They're never gonna touch on that in either of the two movies, which would have made a greater story if they had done his pirating days to her loss, and then followed it up with a sequel of him trying to resurrect her, which was way more interesting than everything that happened in the whole movie. I found it odd that when she's dying and she tells him, she wants to, breathe her last breath into him, and then she doesn't. I don't know if you noticed that. They're kissing, and she says, and then she turns her head and leans into his shoulder and breathes a couple last breaths.
No, I didn't notice that.
I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe it made the scene better, but you could see her breathe a couple more times, and then, I'm like, wait a minute, you can't even get that right. Come on. That was one of the best things about the story, was, that they had some sort of something meaningful there. She wasn't just another, one of the 3-4 other women that he slept with in a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
Oh man, that witch though, that got weird quick. I forgot about that.
Never happened. And I don't know about you, but the first thing I would have freaking done is hit the showers. As soon as she did her fireball thing out there, I wouldn't be looking for more clothes to put on. I'd be wanting, go get some snow or something. Make sure I don't get some sort of, STD from her, something. Instead, he comes out all decked out in furs and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I hope you took a shower, buddy. Hope you're not carrying that around with you for the next.
I think those were the same furs of the wolves he killed. That he showed up in the beginning.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, Jack, what did you think of the tower scene, or does your opinion of it lie with your father?
The scene at the end where they're fighting in the my opinion of it is all right. I don't have the same this is the worst thing ever that he thinks. I would just say, yeah, why didn't they run? But they just had to do the stereotypical Arnold Schwarzenegger thing where he builds a bunch of traps at the end of the movie.
Predator, Commando.
Building traps to fight the bad guys and preparing for the bad guy to arrive. So when he comes, he falls into all these traps.
I like the Predator now. Be nice.
No, I've seen the.
No, that was actually one of his good movies.
It just happens at almost 50% of the time. It happens.
I think that was very much a very big 80s trope, though.
It could very well be, because this was, I think, probably the first movie that he did it in, that he did it in Predator. I'm pretty sure he did it in Commando or something similar to it with the tool shed, etc. But I'd have to go double check.
I haven't seen Commando in years, so I have absolutely no idea.
He killed over 300 people in that movie single-handedly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in different ways.
I always heard it was bad, so I think I've just been giving it a wide berth.
It had Ray Don's song in it. That was cool.
So, I think the only thing I really like, I don't think running away would have been the obvious and probably the best answer on that scene. But that's not how they could have ended the movie.
Well, he could have run away and then come back, because apparently getting in and out of the place was a breeze.
No shit. I think the lady, his love interest that dies, probably her best scene, her best line was when she showed back up as a Valkyrie and looks at him and says, "What, do you want to live forever?" Best line. The best line she had in the entire movie was that line. Because I don't remember, all the other lines she had in the movie didn't really stick out to me as much as, being memorable. But when she shows up, saves his ass from his workout buddy and that shiny, tinfoil armor, "What, do you want to live forever?" That right there, that made her character.
I think a couple other little minor things, worked as well. But, that's why I said if they had made it a completely original story, it would have come across better. And that's my huge problem with this movie is most people are so willing to disregard it. Had it been another movie, a lot of people would have criticized it a lot more, but because it had someone who was hugely famous, or several people that were hugely famous in it, huge budget, the scenes were, the scenery was perfect. Okay, all of the locations were great. The music was good. The casting was no problem with any of the casting, other than Arnold, but that's because I can't stand Arnold Schwarzenegger personally. And I trust me, when I'm going through this movie, I'm not taking any of that into account. He had done some great things, but people can ruin their entire image, so to speak, with just a little bit of, one screw up can ruin your entire, perceived image. And for me, he did just that. The fact that so many things were let, we just watched Beastmaster, and while Beastmaster had a whole lot of crap in it, a whole lot of schlockiness to it, it just came across more forgivable because they were willing to kind of stand on their own. Obviously, it's supposedly based on a book that it wasn't really based on. So it's not entirely a completely, opposite thing. But there are a lot of other movies like that they just don't get the love, from the nostalgia of watching it when we were younger, less judgmental, and in a time when we were less judgmental and more open to hey, this is great. We're finally getting a swords and sandals movie on the big screen. After so long a period, between the Sinbad movies and other kinds of movies like that, and gladiator movies, until we got Conan. It's people just seem to be really forgiving on things that they wouldn't be with other productions.
That's fair. Now, I want to go back, wind the video back, where Conan just got free from his master. He's got wild dogs chasing him, and he finds the tomb of somebody, because he says Crumb, but I'm like, I don't think that's where Crumb is buried.
No. He just said Crom as in, like, damn.
Right.
Right. And you guys are both familiar with that scene in the first chapter of the first book, right?
Why
didn't they bring the Lich back? Why didn't the Lich get up and...
I think it probably was too hard to do the effect or something like. But yeah, that was the thing. That was Elsbragg's story, the thing from the crypt, definitely. Yeah, because even the skeleton in that, he was they were from the bygone area. They were a larger race or something. You could tell his size of the skeletons in that were much larger than regular human size.
And how much better would that have made the movie?
If you fought them?
If he fought that skeleton warrior. Yeah, that would have been...
That would have been a cool scene.
It really would have. I mean, that would have shown that they're trying. This is what happened in the first story of Conan in the first book. Not the original Phoenix story that you mentioned. I forget the exact title. But how much better would that have made it? To stick with that kind of thinking. Well, this is what happened in the first thing. Let's do that. Okay, what happened in the next thing? Because had they done that, they might have been able to milk it a lot more. Arnold could have maybe done 10 series, 10 different movies. The books warrant it. The books are good enough, that they could make us, if they went by the book and tried, they'd have a winner of a series. And not only that, but it would generate sales for the books and all the other merchandise, because you could say, look, this is this, here's the movie, here's the books, they're the same, or at least, 90% the same, like the Lord of the Rings movies or whatever. We had to change a couple of things because of budget or whatever, it just would have made it, for me, a lot better.
Even if, and I'm saying this from just watching other books turn into movies, and some of these books I've read and seen in the movies, they're such into niche fandoms. Even if they would have followed it page by page, Conan, Barbarian, I think they could have only really squeezed 2 movies out of that storyline, at least for that era.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, Westerns were still blowing up. Romantic comedies were becoming a thing. There was a lot of other things competing with it. The reason why the reason why comic books movies did as well as they did is because it was more widely, there was more topics they could touch on the comic book movies than when you're doing just a straightforward sword and sandals movies, as you called it. I think they would maybe 2, maybe 3 movies at the best of the Conan era style movies. Beastmaster. I mean, Beastmaster had 3 movies, and only really one of them was good. Yeah, and that came out for roughly around the same era too. I don't think that style of movie would have kicked off as much as we would have wanted it to.
Maybe. I mean,
hell, the second one.
It definitely deserves it.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm saying the second one was more family friendly. Oh, my God, across the board, more family friendly, and it was a flop.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I remember, mind you, guys, I've seen this movie well over 50 times. I cannot tell you how many times we're getting ready to play a D&D game, and somebody throws that movie in for the background before we could get the soundtrack. We'll just listen to music. Don't pay attention. Yeah, just throw it on. Yeah, go that. I'm like, this movie sucks. Because, up until recently, I've never met anybody who's actually read the books. You know, I've lived my whole life never actually knowing anybody in person who read the books. You know, so I'm like, you know, surrounded by Philistines. You know, they want to play Conan, but they can't do the heavy lifting of, you know, a 12-ounce paperback.
I'm actually going to see if I can get a soft cover book of it and just read it through that way, because Audible doesn't have it, and me finding it on YouTube didn't work.
Yeah, real quick before I go there, Cigar. The thing is, you got like the series Shadows had us reading that there are stories in there that are done by a couple of guys that kind of recoup the Howard stories, and there's some stories in there that aren't Howard stories, and there were some incomplete stories by Howard that they finished, and that's the thing. So you have to try to finding those Ace. I think you're Ace, right? Ace paperback Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing you have to
Let me
find.
double
but-
check.
Yeah. But anyways, I gotta cut out and go to work, and I'll be listening to the rest of the show. And you guys have a good rest of the week. And
You
We will-
too. You too.
We will not be doing this next Sunday because I will be I'll be camping. But the following week we'll be back at it, and of course you're more than welcome to join us. We'll figure out whatever the topic is, and we'll let you know.
I got your email. I'll let you know what we're gonna do. You know what? We might even let you pick. Anybody got a problem with that?
No, I don't have a problem.
Jack?
Not really, no. I mean,
okay,
some-
let me. I'll think on it, and I'll
You got
shoot
2
you an
weeks.
email, Shadow.
You
All right,
got
2
2
weeks.
weeks, man.
At
right,
some
good
night.
point-
Take care, man.
Yeah.
Take care. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you real soon, man.
Yep.
Hope
It's
you
not
guys
my-
don't mind, but I figure, what the hell, you know, he's been with us since the beginning. If he wants to, you know, come up with something, you know,
As far as
I've got lots of suggestions, but
I have one
you know-
suggestion, and no one's going to accept it for another year.
what's that suggestion?
The Scientist 2.
No,
I'm kidding.
No.
There's no such thing.
no,
There is no such thing.
no.
But if there is, if I ever find out that's a thing, I'm buying it and I'm watching it.
You can watch it. There's just a lot of things going back to the Conan movie. There's a lot of things they could have done better, but there's also a lot of things they were just couldn't do because of the time. Yes, they could have switched the skeletons out for claymation like they did with Sinbad, or with
he was still around. Ray Harryhausen was still around. Could have done it. They could have, you know, easily made a costume that hid the fact that it was all, you know, that it was somebody, you know.
I mean, hell, what was that? Ash versus the Evil Darkness, a freaking Bruce Campbell movie. He fought skeletons, and this was in the 90s. I mean, I don't. A little bit of claymation would have not hurt that movie.
Nope.
No,
It would not.
I'm kind of bummed that they didn't, but you know, that probably would have increased the budget. But to be honest, it looks like they had, you know, a damn near unlimited budget.
What was the budget for that movie? The budget for the movie was $20 million. They made 68.9. No, well, slash 70. I think nationally in the States they made 68.9 million. Globally, they made 79.1 million off the movie. So they definitely made their money back.
Exactly. There's, you know, I'm sure they had an excuse or a reason. They didn't think it was going to do as well as it did, but you know, I mean, if
I honestly think you never know with movies like that if they're going to hit or going to flop.
no, nowadays, there is actual proof that they can make a movie suck on purpose.
Well,
And I don't mean make the
nowadays,
movie
yeah.
suck. You know, with John Carter, they proved that if they don't want a movie to succeed, even though it's a great movie, they will make it not succeed.
That's fair.
And
I mean,
that alone is despicable.
I
You'd
won't
rather
dis-
lose. You'd rather tarnish something's image and potential for future enjoyment of millions just to protect your own selfish interest.
That's pretty dickish.
Yeah.
I don't. And think about it. What were they trying to protect? Marvel and Star Wars. Well, they failed with Star Wars. That's a universal given now.
Yeah.
Marvel, that's purely subjective because you can throw garbage out there with Iron Man's face on it and it will sell.
As much as I am a Marvel fan and I will stick up for some of the movies, I will also say the Marvel movies are dancing on a knife's edge.
Well, it really boils down to a couple of different things. Things run in cycles. The superhero genre is just about dead. It wouldn't matter what they did. The fact that they're willing to sabotage that the way they are,
I don't know. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of delts when it comes to superheroes. I think there will be a lot of delts to sign off. I will not disagree with that one. But I think the youth, maybe not so much Jack, but I think youth, his age, my daughter's age, and up, will still be into it for a while. I think they might have maybe couple more years, but not that many. I mean, they ran the werewolf, vampire, zombie genres to the fucking ground. So who knows? As long as somebody's making money off these movies, they'll continue being made. But I would like there to be an animated series of Conan that follows the book as religiously as the Tolkien's Lord of the Rings did. I think it'd be worth watching.
I don't think they'll ever do animated, but a TV show, there's no excuse, other than they don't want to. And you have to realize when they don't want to do something, it's because they don't. Now it's because they don't want it to interfere with something else. Until a new company comes along, it says, "Well, we're not Disney, we're not Marvel, and we're going to make this movie, and we're going to make it rock, and we're going to pay the Howard estate what they deserve, and we're going to treat them right." It won't happen.
The reason why I say animated, because of all the physical attributes that Conan has, they can knock it out and no one can bitch. Conan has the Prince Valiant haircut. He has the piercing blue eyes. He looks
also the monsters, because there were a lot of monsters in the Conan stories.
Right.
And, between the Colossus, the giant snakes that constantly are, messing with him, the giant slug. There were a lot of classical monsters, that would cost a pretty penny and would deter a production company from, jumping on board with that idea.
Like it or hate it, the new Dungeons & Dragons movie has shown that Hollywood is actually starting to take what these monsters look like serious.
Well, they did even, kind of with the Ray Harryhausen movies, with the Clash of the Titans. They both Clash of the Titans movies. They, Star Wars, Aliens. If they can find the people who can do it right, they'll jump on it. But it's everything else. You know, it's the IP. You know, all these things. You know, the people that own the old original stuff, they don't want to give them the money, and they can't really come up with anything on their own. You know, there hasn't been a movie like Dragon Slayer or Dragonheart or anything like that. You know, or anything else that's been completely.
I'm letting you finish, and I wanted to read that.
Yeah, I just saw it. They have yet to come up with an original movie in a very, very long time. I mean, straight up original. That wasn't written by somebody else a very long time ago.
I mean, we kind of covered that, though, in Table Breakers. The idea of making original anything is just shot in the ass. It's all been done.
But that's not what people mean when they say they want to be original. They mean that they want to have an idea that they haven't seen before and then do it. And then
the only way, in my opinion, that you could pull that off is with sci-fi. The fantasy trope, the fantasy world genre has gone through every orientation that it could possibly gone through. Sci-fi is the only.
You know, I actually agree with that to an extent. There are some stories out there that have never been done by people who are dead that may very well be, you know, doable.
Yeah.
But I think this D&D movie could be like the last hurrah for some time, or it will be the next big thing after, you know, the superhero, you know, cake sort of genre dies its death until it comes back again. Because, you know, this isn't the first time we've had a superhero, you know, surge.
No, Batman, Dick Tracy, Superman, the TV Flash, all the variations of Batmans, Spider-Man from the 70s, Spider-Man from the 80s, Spider-Man from the 90s, and so forth and so on. No, you're absolutely right. Incredible Hulk, TV show and movies.
And speaking of which, before you hit Mark's comment, just for you guys out there at home that are watching this, this is one of the reasons why next month will be our superhero September month, so that we can knock that out before nobody cares.
I actually like to take part of some of that if you're willing to let me.
Yeah. Well, we were planning on it. Part of September, we figured we'd do some superhero movies, and if you're interested in learning, you know, the superhero genre for role-playing games, I can point you in the right direction. And no, it doesn't have to be villains and vigilantes, because no one's going to play that game, even though it's one of the best games ever written.
There are a few TV shows that fall under the superhero genre. I'd love to throw out there. Not, you know, I just want to talk about. I'm not saying that people have to go out there and watch them, but I definitely would like to talk to them. Heroes being one of them. All right.
Oh yeah, that was one of the best.
Yes, it was. All right. Mark says, last thoughts. I enjoyed the symbolism of when he threw the big bad at the end. Threw the big bad at the end and
Last
threw
thought.
away.
He flew.
Yeah, last night.
I'm sorry. He
last thought.
threw
I'll
the
read it.
big bad at the end and threw away the baggage of his revenge when he cast away his father's broken sword. You know, I get that.
I get that. Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, just keep it. Why would you throw it away? Just keep it. There's no point in throwing it away.
It's your dad's freaking sword.
It was broken.
Crap. Do you not? Yeah, I don't care if it's broken. Did you see that jagged ass edge on it? Oh my God! You pull that out in a dark alley, people are gonna run. No one's gonna want to get stabbed with that thing.
I can see I can see getting throwing away the actual blade part, but taking the handle and the I can't.
What
think
was
of
left of it?
Yeah, and turn it into a new sword.
Or that, you know, because you know he might have known how to do those skills.
The handle and the handguard could have been not recycled, but been reused on a new sword, bringing his story full circle. Would have been happy with that. What else did he say? D&D should have consulted the people who did the South American car commercial for the new. Yes, they should have. Have you guys seen that commercial?
Which one?
It's a car commercial, but in the very beginning of the commercial, I would show it, but YouTube would get mad at me. You have live action people. You have real people playing roles from the 1980s animated Dungeons & Dragons cartoon, and it looks like it's a trailer for that. But you find out it's a card commercial at the end. It was an amazing commercial.
That sounds brilliant.
It was really good. Now that we did this one, and I have no bones about doing this one, I did enjoy this one as a kid. I won't say I did. I liked it for what it was. It's not the first of its kind, but definitely helped the genre out a lot.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think it deserves to be held up for any other reason than that.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to argue.
There may be a few other things that
of that era.
Right.
You're talking sword and sorcery, sword and not the movie, but just that concept of genre. There was a few of them in the 80s, but none of them were really all that great. Legends was good, in my opinion, but it wasn't in the same pretense that Conan was. It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I see that.
Beastmaster was good, but it was corny.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have a lot of different. You have a lot of other movies. The Barbarian brothers. There was a bunch of really bad, almost soft porn, swords and sandals movies that came out roughly at the era. Conan was really the only movie that was made, was put through theaters that was not like, what the hell am I watching?
Well, I mean, I kind of thought that multiple times throughout the movie, but
you're jaded. You're too young to be as jaded as you are, but you're jaded, therefore it happens. You didn't grow up, man. You didn't grow up in this era. This is what we had on TV. Either westerns, soap operas, the news, or movies like this. I mean, nowadays, you got, 1,001 channels? I remember maybe having 15 at the most. Shadow?
Oh, no. Way more than that with cable. 100.
I didn't have cable. I didn't have cable until I was older.
And even then, there was crap. That's why I've seen this movie so many times. That's why I saw Beastmaster hundreds of times. And I understand that, I too was... Yeah, I have to agree with this statement. I understand part of my memories are clouded by the nostalgia of things like Beastmaster, but because I didn't read the book, so had I read the book Beastmaster, I might have been up in arms about, so this isn't the same book, blah blah blah. But I did read Conan, and not only did I read Conan, but millions of other people read Conan. The Savage Sword of Conan, or the comic books were easy to digest. In comparison to the paperbacks, a lot of people didn't even know they existed. I knew people who thought Conan came from a comic book. No, Conan, the books were so good that they wanted to make comic books out of them. Yeah, Howard was amazing, and Tolkien is overrated. But to me, they're almost like apples and oranges.
1930. You can't really have one without the other, unfortunately. I mean, you can, but it would be somewhat lopsided.
Yeah. And to be honest, I do prefer Howard, but I actually prefer Burroughs in a lot of ways over Conan, just because I like I like happy endings. Let's put it that way.
Conan kind of got happy ending ish.
Not in the same way. And I understand that Burroughs wrote his stuff earlier and was from kind of a different era where it was inconceivable to have anything but a happy ending. It was considered poor writing if it wasn't a happy ending, unless it was Shakespeare. And so,
Yeah.
I don't want to, come away from a book, close the last page, and feel sad about it, and or devastated or bummed out. I want to be like, yeah, that was a good book. Sometimes a sad ending will make you react that way. But it seems to be more and more a desired outcome, and I don't think that's healthy. People need something to be able to look forward to, and not regret, not feel bad afterwards.
I know I'm a bigger Dresden fan than, let's say, you guys are, and not all the books have had happy endings. Not all of them have had bad endings. But there hasn't been a book of a Dresden Files book that I put down and said, well, I'm never reading this book again, because the story in the middle, the beginning, the middle, and end is so fucking amazing that makes me want to read it again. Real life doesn't have happy endings. I wish that it did. I really do. I mean, there's a lot of people
I disagree. Well, let's put it this way. It's not a guaranteed, but there are lots of people out there that succeed in that.
That's true. That's fair.
And if we're all as a species going to just succumb to that despair and that that sense of loss is the only thing that's guaranteed, we don't deserve another breath.
Not a good thing at all.
Yeah, we don't deserve another breath as a species. We should all hope and expect and strive for the best outcome possible, and not succumb to the inevitable death and taxes. There are so many great things to look forward to that it just seems sort of self-pitying to look upon life otherwise, and then to go and write it and promote it, saying, well, my life sucked, now your guys is gonna too, if at least only for these few hundred pages that I wrote about it, and woe unto you for reading my sob story. Encourage us, help us be better. Let's strive to be better than the negative forces out there that want to crush us and keep us down, because God knows there's a lot more of that out there than anything else. And that's why there's a word out there called heroes. Anybody who can do that and rise above that crap that's out there, that's what you become. Maybe just for a little while, there's nobody out there who can tell me we have too many heroes.
No, I cannot disagree with that. I like a balance. For every Robert Frost, there needs to be an Edgar Allan Poe. Sure. That's we can't all live, in a utopian society yet. And there has to be, you can start your book out crappy. You can start your book out tragic and sad, because that's great when you can triumph over that. Arnold Clayhaven, again, I will plug that book. The poor kid starts out as an orphan whose life is to clean out the stables and the chamber pots of a tavern, all because of his circumstances of birth, etc., and rises to he rises above all of that to become a bit of a hero. And you can have your bad stuff in the middle. You can start out good, hit that nosedive, face plant, and then rise above it at the end. If there is no rise at the end, what was the point? Just to show people, see, there is no hope.
And yes, you're correct, James. Howard, it does tend to go a little bit on and on about, with his style of writing, but there's a lot of other people that have that same problem. That's why they're writers, is they want to use these big words and descriptive sentences, etc., to get it out of their system and to put it on paper and to share with others.
Sometimes that's the only way you can release a lot of that shit, though, is to write it out.
Absolutely. And, clearly the guy had issues,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah.
Something big and bad happens to you, and your solution is, self-deletion. No, that was a tragedy. Can you imagine what would have happened had he lived another 35 years? He could have seen his movies on film. He would have been there to help make that a driving force. We could have had Conan movies in the 60s or the 50s instead of having to wait 50 years before someone finally decided, you know what, this is pretty good shit. Let's do something with it besides comic books.
That's fair. We're reaching about 5 minutes out from being 2 hours. I want to say thank you to Mark for joining us this week. You are more than welcome to be part of the panel anytime we do this, as far as I'm concerned. I will not speak for my other two colleagues, but I'm sure they feel the same way.
Yeah.
Next week, I will be on a birthday vacation. I'm going camping. As Bruce likes to say, I'm going to go be homeless for the weekend. But I get to hang out with some really cool people that I haven't got to see in 2 years. So the juice is worth the squeeze. Shadow, what do you got going on this coming week?
Well, we do a video almost every day. Last week was a little busy with our regular stuff, so we missed a couple of instances, but I will be making a video tonight with my son, just another show-off thing, not the actual show-off show. Then Monday or Tuesday, we're going to talk about 5E, right, Jack?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. And then Wednesday, what?
No.
Wednesday, I'll be hanging out, hosting Gatekeepers, part 2 of the Dragon dissertation, whatever you want to call it, how to slay dragons in your campaign or your D&D games or what have you. And Thursday, I don't know what Table Breakers is, but the little guy and I will also have another video. Wednesday, do I have a review?
How to play your character, not the sheet. Some variation of that. How to be your character. How to make more of your character. I think that's the Table Breakers. I think that's what they're going for, Table Breakers.
But yeah, we've got a video almost every single day of the week, except Monday or Tuesday, depending on how our schedule works. Because the little guy and I both have D&D games on Tuesday now. And Friday, I'll do another Arduin review or something else. I might do my part 2 of AD&D, comparing first and second edition. Hanging out with Max and everybody else on the chill stream. Saturday night will be my shadow chat with the sci-fi guys out there in the community. Then hanging out with Nathan Allen. And guys, if you have not subscribed to Nathan Allen, go out there, look for him. Look up Nathan Allen under Final Faction or Star Wars. You'll find him. You'll see our ugly mugs in his live stream from last night, which was just an absolute blast. And then we'll start a whole nother week.
Jack, what do you got going on this week other than school?
Well, I'm trying to get the first episode finished. As soon as that happens, I'll upload it. But before I upload it, I just remember that there's more to it than just finish the video and upload it. I got uploaded, then I need to do my final changes to the website before it actually becomes available. Other than people who have to go through this very vigorous process to actually find the damn thing. But I need to make sure that it has no spelling errors, and by spelling errors I mean no C's except for 3 exceptions. because I think the letter C doesn't make any sense. At least in English. But then I need to do that. I'm going to finish editing it. Then once that's done, I'm going to make my final changes to the website, make sure everything is how I want it before episode 2 eventually comes out. And by that point, I need to start getting some voice actors for episode 3. And then I need to start working on episode 4 because that one's going to take such a long time to make, but I'm not going to explain why. And I probably should have started working on it months ago, but I'm kind of glad I didn't because I probably would have been really bad at it a few months ago. So I'm going to hope that it turns out well. And then I'm actually able to release them all in a timely manner.
That makes sense to me. All right.
Probably actually only upload the first episode once I have the second one finished as well.
Fair enough. I look forward to seeing them. So with that all being said, my name is Connell, the Cigar DM. You can find me here at the Cigar DM channel. You can also find me hanging out with Shadow and Sun, aka Jack, down here. You can find me hanging out at Gatekeepers and Table Breakers, and sometimes even at Max's Late Night Chill, and a chat or two between the weeks with mine, maybe every other Tuesday. I don't know, and hanging with.
Are you doing on this Tuesday?
I don't know. I might actually. And Saturday, hanging out with my big brother here on his sci-fi and a new friend of mine, Nathan's. But what I want you out there to do is I want you all to go find Jade's Tavern. He just uploaded a new video, and I think he does some quality work. He does some really quality stuff, and he's worth giving some love to. Then tomorrow night, Bruce will be doing a movie review with him and Janet.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to watch that. Then I want you to go find whatever Shadow's been doing, and I want you guys to watch that because these videos are worth watching. They're worth the time that they put into it, and it's worth for you to watch them. Now, I want to say thank you once again to Shadow and Young Jack and Mark, and of course to the chat. James Al, I will definitely have you come on here one of these weekends, and we'll talk about Crocodile Dundee. The good, the bad, and what the fuck were they thinking? With that being said, everybody have a good week. I'll be gone next week. It is my birthday. I'll be drunk and smoking cigars while camping with some really good people. So if you miss me, don't worry. I will be back. Wait, that's an Arnold Schwarzenegger line. But don't hold that one against me. And guess what? Later on, maybe not this coming month, but I might because it's my birthday month, and we know how Shadow feels about birthday months. I might make him watch a new Conan movie. We might do a review from the old one, the first Conan movie, to the most recent Conan movie. So
just make him watch every single movie Jason Momoa has ever been in.
No. We're not going to watch them. I just want him to do one of them, just one. And it's not even going to be Aquaman. It will be Conan, the updated from 2011. I think that'll be my birthday present to give to Shadow. I think that's what I want this year for my birthday. But with that being said, I love you all. James, thank you for hanging out with us. I will be doing, when your package does show up, I will do a review of what you sent me because I think all these beautiful people would like to know what you sent me who don't already know. And that's all I really have to say. Any words of wisdom from you, Jack?
Yes. I don't know. I don't have any.
All right. What about you, Shadow? Other than
The same as it ever was. Play the games you love with the people you love. And have a great week, guys.
Actually, I have one. That is, do what you say you're going to do.
I'm gonna go have tacos.
that's not a knife. That's a horrible version of that one. I want to go through these really quick. And with that being said, my words of wisdom is the same words of wisdom I got in my first day working as a temp work at Caterpillar. If you want to stick your dick in it, don't stick your finger in it. Everybody have a good weekend. And remember, Roll your dice in the dark and fill out your character sheet with a crayon. Love you all.